Hello and welcome everybody to a special episode or collaboration, whatever you want to call it. My name is Shibby. You guys obviously know me, and I'm joined by fellow Marvel Rivals yapper Nenn, who many of you probably know. Many of my viewers, subscribers already know who he is. We do a lot of the same kind of content. We talk a lot. Nenn, how are you? It's a great finally collaborating and doing a yap session, we'll call it for now, together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's finally great to talk to you. After so long, kind of. We've been commenting to each other for a while
Yes.
on each other's videos, but to finally get to sit down and talk, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. I feel like we're both obviously big fans of each other's work. Like we're both subscribed. We'll both. I see you in my comments. You see me in your comments. We like use a lot of the our videos. Like when I talk about you, I reference you. Like I'll always like look at the stuff you make. It's really funny. It's really funny because we both made videos on the throwing stuff very recently.
Dude.
And like I had people in my comments be like, dude, did you just steal this from Nenn? I'm like, no, me and Nenn are like, we're
No,
mutuals, bro. Like,
we're just on the same
yeah,
wavelength at times,
exactly.
but
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that's a perfect thing to just like kind of kick this conversation off because I feel like we kind of had similar points, but you were a lot more, I would say, open or maybe even like optimistic or even sometimes apologetic for Netease on like not being able to punish like hard throwing. Because I think there's a big
mhm.
distinction that I think me and you both made where it's like there's definitely hard throwing where people are like jumping off the map. They're, trying to like AFK and they're like trying to make it seem like they're playing and they're not. And then there's like the way more, harder that it like detectable one where it's like soft throwing, right? Where like they're just kind of
Yeah.
not trying super hard or they're playing a hero that they don't know how to play. So like from my point of view, when I saw your video, I was like, wow, he's being like really forgiving for Netease, where it's like I think my
Yeah.
stance was a lot harder. I was like, no, like Netease needs to do something about people hard throwing. Do you actually think there's like a throwing epidemic? Because I feel like slowly but surely Marvel Rivals is getting that stigma of like, oh, there's a lot of throwers in the game. And I feel like that kind of stigma for any game is like super hard to shake off. If your game is known as like, oh, there's a bunch of cheaters in that game, or there's a bunch of throwers, or it's really
Mhm.
toxic and racist, right? Like, I don't know what games you've played in the past. I know you've played Overwatch, like similar to me, but I used to play League of Legends a lot, and that game was like known for its toxicity, and it's been
Oh
very
yeah.
hard for that game to shake off that stigma.
So when it comes to, a throwing epidemic, I think that it's a little bit of a tricky situation because I think a lot of people need to know that when it comes to like with the internet being as big as it is today, it's a lot more integrated in life. In a way, we're still kind of in a bubble compared to like something like when you think about the masses, like the casuals. You know what I mean? Like not. And this is it sounds like I was being forgiving in the video, but at most I was just trying to be kind of grounded and a little bit realistic here.
Mm-hmm.
um, I I don't know what I would call it, but it's not gaslighting. Like definitely not gaslighting
No, I
because
don't think you're
there.
gaslighting. I think a lot of gamers and communities will definitely like disproportionately overblow something, right?
Mhm, yeah,
Like like any
that's
community.
exactly.
Yeah, like any community in their game, especially because people remember the negative experiences more. Like, okay, out of the 20 games, if you have like 5 games that are throwers, that means you had 15 games where like, nothing, it was just a game where you either got rolled or you won, right? Like
Mhm,
that's not terrible, but a lot of people are going to remember those 5 different experiences, which I personally think is still a very high amount. Ideally,
yeah.
like you want 1 to 2 games where people are throwing every like, maybe 50 games or something like that because like again those experiences stick out. I think I don't know if it's an epidemic like you said, but I definitely feel like Netease is not doing a good job punishing these people, and that's where I really
Oh
kind of
yeah.
harped on them a lot. I was like, these guys are getting like 15-minute or 2 hour bans, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking on that, yeah, in terms of like actual like for obvious terms where it's just like, oh, this person is obviously throwing it. Yeah, no, their suspension should be a lot longer. Um, More so, what I kind of talked about was how hard it is to differentiate like who's actually throwing because a lot of what throwing can be is interpretation and perception of the player that thinks said other player is throwing. So it's like And you talked about it too, where it's like somebody could just be having a bad game, but
Yeah.
someone would call that throwing. And that's kind of where the term itself is a little overblown and a little overused, because when you start to get to that territory, it's a little hard to differentiate, like, who is actually throwing and who's just either having a bad game or, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know like League does something similar where like if you have like a particularly bad game, I think I've seen it. I don't really play League as much anymore. Just because like obviously like probably similar to you, Marvel Rivals has taken like a good portion of your life in terms of gaming, and I think we both have like limited amount of time because like we're both busy with like other stuff like work and family and whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like other games or like League, they'll do it where like if you have a particularly bad game, maybe you were trying 100%, you're just League of Legends is one of those games where it's super punishing when you die a lot, and if you die once or twice, you'll just keep dying and dying and dying. It'll like
Mhm.
warn you like, hey, you can't have like performances like this consistently. Like
Yeah.
what is your thoughts on a system like that where like, let's say for example, like you play 5 games of Marvel Rivals ranked, let's say, or maybe even quick play. I don't know. I feel like quick play is a different territory. I don't want to piss off the quick play people, but like
Mhm.
in ranked, let's say you have like 5 games in a row where you just go like super negative. Like you go like 20 plus deaths, like 10 elims only, 3
Mhm.
final hits, like a DPS or whatever, right? Do you think there should ever be like a system like that in place where it's like, hey, we're gonna warn you, like if you keep playing like this, or if you keep performing like this, you're gonna get a suspension, or you're gonna get like a competitive ban because your play is detrimental and it's ruining minimum for 5 other people's experiences, right?
So it's like kind of, whether I think that will happen, that's kind of like another thing. But like, which
Yeah, it's a
just the
whole.
topic of, yeah,
Yeah.
overall. Um, Funny enough, there is another game that kind of does that. It's completely different genre. Do you know Super Smash Brothers?
Yes. I used to follow the Smash competitive scene a lot, like Melee, Smash
Oh,
4.
okay.
So yeah, I'm very, at least I was not recently, right? Like I think the
Mhm.
last big tournament, or like the last big Smash player I knew, like I know of like MKLeo and Tweak and these kind of guys. I don't know like the new generation. I know in Melee right now it's like Zane and
Yeah,
um I think Cody Schwab, right? I think Cody is his name or something like that. Like those
Cody
are the
something. Yeah.
new, yeah, those are like the new. That's the new generation. I don't follow that as much anymore, but actually, like my first foray into like competitive gaming esports was like a Smash game. It was like Apex, and I'm gonna date myself here. Apex like 2014. I was like, I don't
Oh.
know. I was like 12 years old. I was like 17, 16, 17 years old or something like that.
Mhm.
So I've been following. I had been following Smash for a while. Anyways, go on. So Smash, you said Smash has something similar.
Yeah, Smash Ultimate, where they have something called they have their quick play mode. Well, they don't call it quick play, but it's like their casual. Just
Casual
jump
mode.
online, do whatever you want. And then they have their ranked mode or something similar to that called Elite Smash.
Yes, yes.
So you play a character and you have to win a certain amount of times in quick play to then be able to take that one character into Elite Smash. But the thing is, if you lose too much with that character in Elite Smash, you fall out of it. I know obviously it's like a solo game, but implementing it kind of reminded me of what you said, like your suggestion. Um, I think, like I said, I really can't think of if they should do that without thinking about like if they would do that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, like it's like not. It's like if Netease would never do it, like why would they even? I just feel like conceptually as well, like you can run into like a slippery slope issue where it's like it's tough because like if you're a bronze player, right? Like no offense to the bronze players listening to this, but like you're probably dying a lot. Like you're learning the game, so it's like if you have like 5 or 10 games in a row where you die a lot, but like your team also dies a lot. Like how can the system differentiate? Because I know right now the way Marvel Rivals does ranked, like they talked about it in their dev blog or that extended video they made, where the way they calculate how many points you get off of off of a win is based off of like your performance against like the ranks average on that character. So like if you're a celestial player and like you're playing Magneto, you are being judged against all the average performance of all other celestial Magnetos, And like whether you do better or worse off of their stats, I'm not sure what stats they get. Don't ask me on that one. Tank stats are cooked anyways, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But like the way they do it is they judge you against the average Celestial player, and then you'll get like if you overperform, if you do better than the average, you'll get like plus 22 or plus 23. But if you win and you do worse, like let's say you didn't really have a big impact, you just bubbled, you didn't really get a lot of elims, you didn't deny many ultimates or whatever, like you'll get plus 18, plus 19. Do you think like that system would work? Like they could like jerry rig that system for like, you know, griefing detection or something like that, or like, hey, you're playing bad detection. Like if the average bronze player is dying 50 times or whatever, and you die 60 times, like maybe there's something suspicious. I don't know if the average bronze player is dying 50 times. I'm just over exaggerating again. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, is there a world where they could do that?
I think at some point, yeah. But it's sort of a thing where it's like, with the way NetEase kind of approaches things so far from what we've seen, is that the last thing they want to do is, deter players away from playing their
Yes,
game.
of course.
Even at the cost of the enjoyment of a lot of the hardcore players. Um, so they're willing to make that sacrifice of not doing that, just to keep what they have. But I think they should do something like that, especially when it comes to throwers, because otherwise, how would you actually detect a thrower in a justifiable manner? You know what I mean? Rather than it being people's perception of via reports, which obviously people can mass report somebody that's innocent. They should definitely have like an underlying sort of hidden thing where they are able to statistically track somebody that is constantly doing bad over and over again, multiple matches. Then it's like, okay, we don't want to assume that you're throwing, but how about you're not going to play ranked for just like play quick play a little bit more, and then you could hop on ranked. You know what I mean? Like
It's like
something
win
like
a
that.
quick play game or like win 2 quick play games, like show that you're
Yeah,
not like anti tilt. Like they,
yeah,
I mean, that like it's got to be something like that, right? I remember when we were talking about like both of us when we talked about the throwing problem, we talked about like the prisoner's island thing. Like Dota 2 does like the prisoner's island. I the more and more I think about that solution, like yeah, it's obviously easy to say like, oh, just copy Overwatch or just copy League of Legends. They have like very robust anti-cheat. Like obviously like Riot Games has their like kernel level access to your PC so they can like monitor if you're using cheats and stuff like that. Overwatch's system, from my knowledge, has gotten better. I haven't for context, I haven't played Overwatch since after Sojourn was like nerfed. I played during Sojourn meta, but I haven't really played. So
Oh,
it's been a long
oh,
time since I've.
so
Yeah,
that's like season two.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like
So
season two.
I was a big Overwatch player when I was younger. Like I played Overwatch when it first came out. I bought the game originally. So I played Overwatch 1. I dropped it. And then when Overwatch 2 came out, like any former Overwatch player, I was like, okay, I'll play it. I'll try it. I'll give it a good old, honest try. And then like kind of Blizzard had the same problems where they were super slow on patching. Sojourn was meta for like a very long time. But like from my knowledge, their the banning system and stuff has gotten really good in terms of like detecting griefers and stuff like that, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. I think their banning system overall with like griefers or any other thing, it's been getting good. I do still think they have a zimming problem, especially like on console. I think
Oh,
zimming
yeah.
has been a problem on Overwatch for a long time. Like ever since Overwatch 1. And it wasn't until I can't really remember the season, but it was like a few seasons into Overwatch 2 where they're like, okay, we're finally gonna start cracking down on this. And they have, they have like a automated system or something that can detect somebody on console that's zimming and they'll just boot them out. Or I forgot, I think don't quote me on this, but I think if you're found playing on a mouse and keyboard, I think they just put you in like a PC lobby or something like that, even if you're on console or something like that. I don't know, but overall, I do think their detections or whatever they got going, be it their bans or whatnot, it's a lot better than what NetEase has right now, because a lot of what NetEase is just it's kind of everything at the most basic of levels, where it's like just suspension here, 15-minute suspension there, 30-minute suspension. um it feels like there's not much nuance to the way that Ease handles like suspensions and like penalties compared to something like Blizzard. So in terms of that, that's my take on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I guess like to wrap up this like part of the throwing stuff. Do you think that like Marvel Rivals is getting that stigma, or like do you think Marvel Rivals is getting a different stigma? Like, do you think it's a overtly toxic game? Like, do people? I guess like do you, when you interact with communities or other friends or people that you talk that play other games, like do you think people know Marvel Rivals as like, oh, this is the game with a lot of throwers, or do they know it for something else? Other than the tournament stuff, the stupid tournament
Yeah.
shit.
Funny enough, I think no. I think a lot of people outside of like, my internet bubble that I talk to, that,
Yeah.
either be coworkers, friends, they know it as the Gooner game. That's exactly what they know it as. Which kind of caught me by surprise. We were just like, a little over a month and a half ago, where I was in a conversation with someone at work, and we were talking about like, oh, what games do we play, this and that. It was like a new hire, and they're saying, oh, I play Overwatch. And I was like, "Oh, do you play MarvelRivals?" And he's like, "Oh, the irony in when him saying this, but he said, "Oh, that game's too goonery for me." And I'm like, "Goonery?" When you look at Overwatch, and especially Overwatch 2, they've been kind of leaning into that stuff a little bit too, but in general, yeah. Yeah, they don't really know it as the toxic game. Um, but yeah, the Gooner game is the one that is brought up a lot more.
That's so
Because it's
funny.
it's memed on, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a, funny meme to say online, is that, "Oh, look at this new skin that shows somebody's, you know, cheeks," and it's stuff like that trends a lot on the internet. So I think that's why, at least from my POV, I've seen a lot of people that I know kind of regard Mall Rivals in that way, rather than like, oh, that's the game with a lot of throwers. That's the game that's like super toxic. So I can only speak from what I've heard, my experience of what I heard. But yeah.
So funny, right? I mean, like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm not gonna sit here and like defend Marvel Rivals in terms of like comparing it, but like to say like Overwatch isn't kind of like a Goonery game, you know what I mean? Like it is a
Yeah.
little because they have like the Street Fighter collab, they've got all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm like, and like obviously we know what Widowmaker looks like. We've seen Widowmaker. Like it's
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? But it
It's
is
not.
Widowmaker would fit right into Marvel Rivals. That's really interesting. That is like something I have heard, like on top of everything else. Like, oh yeah, Marvel Rivals is like they have a lot of like Gooner skins, and like almost every patch or every you know skin that releases, that every like skin or two that comes out, they're always like like there's some sort of Twitter thread or there's some sort of Reddit thread or there's something happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something trending talking about like why is this character's ass out, or why is this? I'm like, this
Hmm.
stuff sells. Like like
Yeah.
I'm not here to defend it, but I understand why they do it. Right? They wouldn't
Yeah.
do this if the numbers didn't, you know, project it that way. Like they have all the sales numbers in the background. I'm sure they
Uh-huh.
look at the number. Like there's a reason Luna Snow gets so many skins, or there's a reason Psylocke gets a million skins. Spider Man gets a
Yeah.
million skins because believe it or not, those are probably some of the best selling skins they have, and they're gonna go off of data. Like,
Oh,
unfortunately, I'm sorry, bro. Like, Hulk is not gonna get many skins because not many people play Hulk.
yeah. Not many people play Hulk, and Netease, please buff Hulk. At this point, these guys have been suffering. These guys have been suffering since what? Like season. Okay, so with Hulk, off topic. Not to get off topic here.
No, no, yeah. There's no off topic. We can just keep going.
Okay,
We can just keep going. Whatever we want to talk
so
about.
so Hulk, no one, it's kind of like Black Panther, right? Remember Black Panther, like season zero, season one, where people were kind of like thinking like, oh, this character's busted. You see so many clips of like him deleting people in like, you know, a second. And then like it wasn't until people got better at the game and like understood it more, where it's like, this guy's kind of a bitch. You know what I mean? So yeah. But there obviously, with lower ranked players, BP is kind of a hard character to keep track of, because it's a lot of, hand-eye coordination to keep track of them. But I think Hulk is kind of in a similar situation, where it's like he's like BP, but people are a lot scared of him. I mean, are a lot less scared of Hulk than they are in BP, even in lower levels. Um,
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's
yeah.
my opinion on that.
I would agree. I think it's because like the BP stuff feels like more like harder to play against, whereas like Hulk, he's got like his time to kill is a lot higher because obviously he's like punching you and he's thunderclapping you, and that's all he's got, right? And that's like you have to constantly misplay to like die to Hulk versus like dying to BP for a lot of like, you know, players, lower rank or whatever. It feels like you can't do a lot against it, or it felt like you couldn't do a lot against it. Like it was so bad they nerfed him, right? Like they reduced the amount of health that he gets, or like the max bonus health. They did a lot of stuff in the early seasons, I remember. And I remember there was a point like people were legitimately having the conversation, like, oh my God, BP is really good. Like he's OP. Like and it's like, I was like, no, he's not. Like he's not OP. Especially when after Thing came out, right after the Fantastic Four came out, like the game, and I talked about this in that video I made about tanks, right? Or like, why does Marvel Rivals hate these vanguards? And I'm like Penny and Captain America and Hulk. It's just like I said it in a fancy way, but it's power creep, right? Like the game has gotten so ahead of some of these characters that were released in season 1 and season 0 on launch, which is crazy to think about because it's only been a year. But like Hulk hasn't caught up to the power level of some of these characters, if you think about it, right? Like if you took like all the characters that have been released, you'd look at Angela, you look at Emma, you look at Thing. I mean, even in some cases, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman. Inherently, her kit counters a lot of what like divers want to do, and especially tanky ones who can get pushed, who can get slowed. She has her shield that gives her self healing now, all that kind of stuff. Like I feel like every character just makes it worse and worse for Hulk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Hulk doesn't have any sort of compensation. Where it's like you take him and compare him to like something like Thor, right? Who obviously also is like a giant big meat character that's kind of with no shields. Um, Thor gets quite a bit of overhealth, so he doesn't have any form of mitigation in terms of like an actual bubble like Hulk. But I feel like in this case in this game, overhealth is a lot more useful than what Hulk has, which is that weird gamma shield bubble, which can crack under a lot of damage. Um, yeah, no, I just don't think Hulk has any good compensation because like a lot of his toolkits are, he's reliant on his jump, and you could stun him, you could slow him, you could, pull him in or whatever. Angela could spear him off the cliff. Um, and you compare Hulk to something like Captain America. Cap at least has a shield. You know what I mean? And he's a lot harder to hit than Hulk, at least, when I'm playing
Mobility
against him.
wise, yeah,
Yeah, mobility wise. And Hulk is just kind of there. Now I'm not saying Hulk should get like overhealth every time he jumps or some crazy stuff like that.
Or every time he autos, he just gets overhealth. Yeah, I mean that's like Marvel Rivals' favorite thing. We can talk about like overhealth, just adding random fucking overhealth to stuff.
Oh
like
man,
that's their thing, man. That's their thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably gonna make a video. Like I have it in like the back of like like the scripting and stuff. I'm gonna take a deep dive on like I don't know what their obsession with overhealth is, but I don't know what they can do with Hulk. I think Thor is such a good example, by the way, in terms of like a character that has gotten compensation buff because he was viewed as like worse than Hulk. I remember at one point he was considered like one of the worst things in the game for a very long time, and like he's gotten buff after buff after buff. It helps that like his bubble kind of counters Angela, and it's like some of an anti-movement tech where like it kind of grounds you after. There's like outplay potential with that. His mobility, the fact that he can kidnap people, and like you said, the overhealth that he gets. He's always gotten overhealth, but like they've given him different opportunities now. Now his hammer throw gives overhealth. So
now
like
he in general he just does a lot more damage than Hulk. Like
yeah. Of course,
yeah.
Hulk has also just been, and I mentioned it, like a team up slave, bro. He has not. I think the most criminal thing in the world is that Hulk, and there's a lot of characters, not a lot, but like there's a handful of characters that have never been the active part of a team up. And I've always thought that team ups should be both ways, but I just think that maybe that's harder to balance. Like if two characters team up, they should both have the ability to do something, right? So like I think the perfect example was, and it was a garbage team up, but it was still interesting, was that both Bucky and Captain America could each press their button and like they would like, clash together or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they both had a button to press. How come Hulk does not have a button to press?
Yeah. I guess they just don't like Hulk because he's had a team with Namor, which thank God they got rid of that because that squid would essentially snipe you in a way because it went so far and did so much damage. Anyways, and then he had the
Yeah, the
He had
the
one
the
with Iron
original
Man.
Iron Man and the Doctor Strange one. That
Strange.
was the OG
Oh
one. Oh my god,
yeah,
that yeah, I was dude. That shit was
that was
broken.
yeah,
Shit was busted.
definitely.
But like Hulk was also in a
Literally.
better spot. Like you could. That was the crazy thing I mentioned. Even when you didn't have Iron Man or Strange on your team, like let's say they were banned or whatever, you could still pick Hulk as a tank
Oh
and
yeah,
you wouldn't be trolling.
yeah, 100%. And honestly, that just goes to show, like, ever since those, season zero, season one, just how much CC they have added with like additional characters, or how much they've given certain characters more CC than what they have. Like, Mr. Fantastic has it more. Sue just got it up, even more. Daredevil for a character like Daredevil for some reason has it. Um, Phoenix literally has it. There's so many characters, especially in the duelist roster, that have crowd control that it's a little hard to keep track of. And the more CC there is, obviously it's all against Hulk. So that's why he's obviously been on a decline here.
Yeah, I gotta update that list. I didn't think that list would get like super
Oh yeah,
big.
it's a
That
great list.
I do, and you know what's crazy? I think I missed like one. I think when I made that, I was like, oh, I did thorough research. It was Iron Fist's kick. Apparently, that also like he kicks you back.
Really?
It's a knockback. I guess I
Oh, it's
missed
the
it.
knockback.
Yeah, or something like so. It's considered like a form of season. So I gotta update that list. It's gonna be an interesting video to make. I'm waiting for like the 1 year mark so we can like retrospect how much has been added since a year. But I mean that's a whole like another. I think that's the thing, right? So like, and my theory is the reason that Marvel Rivals adds overhealth to characters and people's abilities is that if you get CC'd and you have overhealth, it allows you to live the CC chain longer, right? Or like you don't die from it. Like I think, and this is a perfect thing to talk about because your last video where you were like the balancing issue, we don't have any I don't understand NetEase's vision with the game. Whereas like other developers, you mentioned Overwatch, League does the same thing. I know Rainbow Six does something pretty similar. Like the detailed patch notes into like why they are doing the stuff they are doing. I love the dev blogs. I love seeing Guan and Ziyang up on my page smiling and shit like that. But the lack of transparency is the word you use, which I think is perfect. But like also, we have no clear concept of what their vision for the game is. Like why do they do these things? And like that is a big thing that I don't understand because like all we can do is kind of sit here and like theory like okay, probably the reason they're adding overhealth is because there's a lot of CC and they want to give you a way to live the CC if you get hit by it almost.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of speculation because they don't really speak on these things. They have like dev talk, dev visions, and the funny part of it is you really don't see their vision in a way in terms of like balancing. Um, you can kind of see where they're going with like their skins, and any additional modes that they're adding. Which like something like the Times Square thing, great addition. For especially for when was the last time you've been to the like Times Square lobby in game?
Yeah, it's really funny. If you would have asked me this question like a week ago, I would have said like
Uh-huh.
I haven't been there like unless there's like an event, like the Christmas tree where you
Yeah.
get like your free credits or like the Lions
Yeah.
Den or like when the Clobbering Club first came out. But like
Mhm.
just recently I went there just to like mess around because it's kind of funny sometimes, but like I know that Times Square is not for me, but I get that there's an audience, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, every time I go to Times Square, it's not a full lobby, but it's always kind of full, at least for me. Like, anyways, not to sidetrack. Where we're talking about what?
We were yeah, we
I
were
went, I went, I went to Times Square. My bad.
no, you're good. You're good. I think we were just talking about like the lack of clarity and
Okay, yeah, yeah.
transparency on like Marvel Rivals, like the dev visions. You mentioned the dev blogs. Even though they
Mhm.
do all this stuff, you don't really get it much information.
Yeah, you don't know exactly what they're thinking, so it's a lot of just kind of fumbling in the dark here. Like, why did we decide to give Elsa like these sorts of cooldowns? Why did we decide to give this character even more overhealth? Why did we decide to add more CC slowdown? Um, why did we decide not to make Blade good?
I don't like. I kind of just I don't know if this is like how they're company that's always operated, because I know NetEase has done other games before. I know like Marvel Rivals, obviously like their first big like competitive shooter kind of thing. I know they do like Naraka Blade
Yeah, they
Point, right?
publish. Yeah, they publish Naraka. They have another game called Fragpunk, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's kind of like it's kind of their take on Valorant, but in my opinion, more fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, they have those two games. I'm sure they have like other mobile games that are probably exclusive to China, but I the
Yeah, I don't know
studio
if it's
that
like a
is
NetEase thing. Like, I don't know if this is like a
yeah
this is how they've always communicated, you know, because then I could at least be somewhat maybe more forgiving. But at the same time, even if they're always like this, surely they like understand that you can't have like this level of like it's almost like they're vague posting when they when they do the dev
yeah
flex. You know what I mean?
it's sometimes it feels like they don't trust the player base enough to know what they're talking about in a way, if that makes sense. Like they don't have enough confidence in saying like, oh, if we talk about all this stuff, will the player base know what we're talking about? If that makes sense. Like I don't know. There's no other reason to not to be so vague on something, especially for so long. Because patch notes and all this, it's not for the casuals, if that makes sense. Like I don't think a mass majority of the player base. And when I mean mass majority, I mean like your random Joes who 9 to 5 that only play with their buddies just to play their favorite superheroes. I don't think they're looking at the patch notes of like, oh my god, so look what they did to Hela, look what they did to Hawkeye, look at these little incremental changes. They just play the game, but it's like for the hardcore players, which there are quite a bit, there's a lot in Mall Rivals. You would think that they would want to be as detailed as possible when explaining things like balance and like changes, but they're not. They just kind of hold back, and that's something that needs to change. And I'm very curious to know why they've been so vague for so long, but it's all speculation from here.
Yeah, I would. You know, the crazy thing is, yeah, for sure the casual player base. I'm talking probably like the quick play players, and maybe I would even argue some like bronze up to like diamond. They probably don't read the patch notes. Most likely, like there's a pretty big split. Like the casual player base probably just doesn't care. Like you said, they just log on, they play their favorite character, Spider-Man, fucking Iron Man, whatever, and they go on with their day. They win a couple, they lose a couple, that's it. But I would say even like the bronze through diamond, maybe even GM, they just watch their favorite content creator, or they watch, Flats or Coach Mills or any of these guys that like break down Cozy, right? The biggest winners and losers, that kind of stuff. They watch that, and then that's how they get their information, right? They want someone else to digest it. Like in a sense, to some extent, they want someone else to like think for them a little bit and like explain either A, because like you said, they don't give a fuck, they don't care, or B, they just want to be able to like condense the information so that when they go into ranked, they're not picking up Iron Man like and it's nerfed to the ground and they're not losing games, right? Like they want people to say, hey, you should be playing this character. And I make that kind of content too. Obviously, it doesn't do amazing, and that's fine. I don't really care. That's more for my hardcore player base, right? Or player base, my hardcore audience, right? Where I talk about like the patch notes, and I talk about what duelists you should be picking up or what vanguards you should be playing, and the role that like that's for the people that care about that stuff. There's an even smaller audience of that where like they really care about like the why behind Emma is meta or Mag is the best tank or Groot got buffed, right? They all want that super condensed information. I would argue it's maybe like 5 to 10% of like the bronze through diamond player base actually goes online and reads the patch notes. And then like that number increases once you hit probably like Celestial or GM, where like people are reading it for themselves. They're looking at other content creators. On top of that, make their own opinions, because like obviously other content creators have more time to play the game, so they're going to be able to give, in theory, a better idea of like what's broken, because some people can't play when the patch releases, right? Like a lot of the time the patches release on Thursday, Friday. I'm at work, bro. Like I can't, I don't have time to play. Like I don't know. So like I need to go watch something like, hey, how good is this? How bad is this? I've seen people play this for 2 days now, or like, is Deadpool OP? Is which version is the best, right? Is it Vanguard? Is it Duelist? Is it support? All that kind of stuff. So who should I be banning? Is it Elsa? Like even I'm somebody who does that. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think the lack of transparency, like you mentioned, comes from the fact maybe, or like their idea that a minority of the player base probably only cares about the details, which is crazy to think about. Like, I feel like they're making their decision based off of their assumptions that a majority of the player base doesn't actually care. And they're letting the content creators, or they're letting the community, whether it's Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, digest the vague posting patch notes. I don't know if that makes sense. That was a super long rant, but I think you can kind of understand what I'm saying.
No, yeah, absolutely. In regards to like the content creator, yeah, a lot of like with casuals, a lot of people do want like like you said, a digestible way to stay, because I'm sure casual or not, some people at least want to stay in the loop in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
So yeah, they'll watch that and stuff like that. Um, and obviously, with some of your videos and some of my videos that are a little bit more skewed to like the hardcore stuff, like how matchmaking is gonna work, EOMM, which is a funny topic. Yeah, no, it's funny, but yeah, in terms of NetEase, just it's funny enough because it's like if they're assuming that, it's funny that like because of that, then the player base also kind of has to assume like why they aren't being transparent enough. Um, Even the part where I'm scratching my head off is like I obviously I gave the point where it's like maybe they don't trust the majority of player base with like knowing a lot of what they want and like a lot of the changes, but at the same time it's like what would it hurt them to just do it anyways? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Again, I can't tell if it's like a Netease thing, or if it's like a, like you mentioned, like they don't trust the player base, or it's not worth the effort for them to like detail the changes. Like, I like any way I look at it, there's no good reason, you know?
Hmm. Definitely. You know what? Let me check something. I want to check right now. I'm gonna look at Naraka. I'm just gonna look at an example of Naraka patch notes, and I just want to see if there are any differences between Naraka, no, the Naraka team, or the MarvelRivals team. So let me see.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I'm doing this. I know. Ask, does NetEase develop are publishers and supports the develop? Are they the actual? No, the game is
The
developed by 24 Entertainment, so it's a
24
studio.
24.
Okay, it's a studio under NetEase though, so it is a NetEase studio. Okay.
Yeah. And MarvelRivals is I forgot that they recently added the splash screen at the start. Fantasy something. I don't
Oh yeah,
remember
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
team's
yeah.
name.
Marvel Rivals game developer, right? Um, yeah. Marvel Rivals is developed by NetEase Games. I guess NetEase Games is different.
Hmm. Yeah, well, though then again, NetEase might own those studios, and they're just kind of branded still as NetEase. Like I
Uh,
know like other AAA companies do that. Like
EA does that, where like they
EA
have
does that. Warner Brothers does
BioWare
that.
right
Yeah,
under their thing, but it's like
like they'll
EA.
include they'll include like developed by so and so, but it's still under that EA moniker. So
Oh yeah.
in terms of go ahead.
I don't know. Go. Do you have the Naraka Blade Point patch notes?
Yeah, I cannot find the Naraka Blade Point patch notes.
I'm looking at it right now. I see like updates. I don't see like
Oh, you see,
patch notes. I see like
I see like events and like modes, but I don't see like balance
yeah,
patches.
maybe they have
It's
it.
kind of a mess.
Well, that would make sense. It is kind of difficult. If you go on Marvel Rivals website, it's also kind of difficult. Okay, patches for Naraka Blade Point patch notes. Oh, it's like there's like a server, but does this? You know what? The fact that it's this difficult to find it might be an
Yeah.
indicator.
You
You
know
know what
what?
I'm?
Maybe that might be a sign.
Maybe that's potentially, yeah. Maybe that's potentially a sign of the fact that it's this difficult to find like balance patches. Naraka Blade Point balance patch notes. Okay, maybe. Um. Oh no. Okay, so I'm looking at key balance changes made. Um. I guess their language is relatively well. Enhanced charge moves now grants 30% damage reduction. Damage increase. Yeah, if you look at like the patch notes, it says like 2.3.38
Oh,
plus 0.26. Like they have like detailed patch notes.
Yeah, I see somebody, just to sort of, I don't know who this person is, but Cyclops Katie, quick shout out if, I don't know, anybody's interested in Naraka or anything. Not to plug some random person in, but I'm seeing them read a patch. I don't know where they got it from, but they're reading Naraka patch notes, and they literally have hero adjustments, and at the bottom of these changes, they have dev notes. I can't read because their camera's covering it, but it says like it explains why they did the reason they changed the character because Naraka has like different characters you play as. Why? That's one thing that Overwatch has that I just want NetEase to do for Marvel Rivals. If they do it in Naraka, why aren't they doing it in Rivals, which arguably has a much bigger roster, right? And no disrespect to Naraka, I'm sure it probably has a bigger player base overall. Because I know Naraka's like super huge and um, like Asia territories and stuff like that. But yeah, very weird. I don't know what you found on your end, but that's what I found on mine.
Yeah, I think I'm watching a similar video of a guy go through the patch notes, and like you said, they have dev notes. It's like pretty broken down too. Like they don't even have the numbers. Which, granted, Marvel Rivals does give the numbers, and like we talked about this. We talked about this pretty extensively now. Marvel Rivals will sometimes give you the like numbers and stuff, but like also their dev blogs or their videos, like they just acknowledge stuff,
Oh,
and
dude.
like and it gives you like the biggest blue ball. That's the best way I can put it, right? Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, Venom has been struggling, or like, and it's like, okay, cool. So this patch we're gonna get Venom buffs, right? Or we're gonna get like Hulk buffs. Nah,
Yeah.
nothing. I'm like, so like, what are we like? What are we just acknowledging stuff? Like, is that the point of the dev blogs?
It seems so. It seems so because I forgot which one it is, but they talk about like the power of Phoenix, like, oh, this Phoenix is dominating. We know that Phoenix is dominating, and it's like, yeah. Anyways, they just move on. There's nothing to follow up on. They just say things and they never really follow up on it. Like, oh, what are they gonna do about it? They either just the only thing they will say is, oh, we will continue to monitor. It's like, okay, monitor for what? Like if they're just performing well or something like that. And usually after that, they really don't follow up on it. You might get like a nerf later on, but again, it's really cheeks that that's the way NetEase communicates, and that's something that needs to change.
I mean, even kind of transitioning over. Do you think that NetEase is following like the similar issue? I mean, it's funny to say because they recently just hotfixed Elsa, and like they've never. I don't think I've ever seen them do a hotfix in my life. Like I don't know. I can't remember the last time they hotfixed something. But do you think they're kind of getting the same stigma that Blizzard has had, where they are really slow at changing or like fixing really broken stuff? Like, and like I know you've obviously noticed it. Everyone has pretty much noticed it. Like we have been in a pretty hard poke, like hit scan, like hella Phoenix meta for a very long time. Hawkeye to some extent, right? Hawkeye gets hot fixed a little bit. Hella got hot fixed, but like, do you think Marvel Rivals is like slow on balance change? Like they're very very slow. Like, do you think I guess my question would be like, why do you think they're so reluctant to like hard nerf stuff or hard change stuff? Because it feels like Gambit Gambit has been so broken that like the Gambit players, the people that love to play Gambit, love the character. They can't even play it because it's banned every game. But they don't want to nerf it so that it's not like they don't want to make it a situation where that's nerfed so hard that you can't pick it, because now the people that like Human Torch can't pick Human Torch, or they can, but it fucking sucks to play him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why they don't even increase the band number slots because they know they know that if they increase that, which is something that everyone's asking for, but
Yep.
yeah, in regards to, I don't know. I don't know what it is that they're thinking. Like you said, you know, um, they might not want to nerf a character too much, but then if that said character is really good, then that character ends up being banning every single game. So I don't even think it's about like, oh, we're worried about, so and so, this many people won't play this character. Because funny enough, look at Blade, dude. Like Blade, I still think Blade to date is the most hyped up character in Mall Rivals, like in terms of anticipation. Even in game, NetEase, remember like the whole teasing thing that they did, like, oh,
He
Blade
he was the
sweeping.
best marketed character.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what's so crazy to
100%.
me? Like in my mind, Because, okay, if you look at like the Fantastic Four, I've gone on record to say that Fantastic Four was the best like released, I would say, like marketing campaign when it came to like they released the Fantastic Four. They did it in 2 parts. They did these trailers. It coincided with the movie that was coming out. Like that was kind of like a perfect storm. And we're not going to get situations like that consistently, right? Like
I think that was definitely like
yeah.
hey, look at us. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yes.
like 4 heroes in a season, pretty much is like crazy, especially when compared to like the competition like Overwatch.
Yeah.
It was them like essentially just being like, hey, I'm in town. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. I would say the Fantastic Four stuff, but like, yeah, you're completely correct. Like the Blade stuff where they had him like sleeping and they had him like underground on the map and all the like, and the design was leaked. Like the hype around Blade to this day, yeah, I think you're correct. Like, it's so insane to me that a hero like Blade, who you could argue, okay, maybe he's not popular in the traditional sense. He's not like a Spider-Man. He's not like an Iron Man, but like he's almost got like a cult-like following, right? Or like, those characters that are like, very beloved and everybody wants to see succeed. Like, obviously you've got like a big part of the community that plays this game loves Blade, based off like his identity and what he represents and stuff like that. Him being one of the first like, prominent, like popular black superheroes. I mean, also he's just fucking cool. Like he's a half vampire. Like even remove like the black part about him, just his character, right? Like who he is, like what he embodies and represents from like
he's just fucking cool,
Yeah, he's so sick, and the movies made him so cool. So it sucks that there's a character like Blade that I mean, I don't know if you've seen. A good friend of mine, KPX, they had a Blade funeral, bro. Like that's how bad. That's how bad it is. The Blade, and that was somebody that. KPX Chris, he was someone that like dedicated his whole stream and not persona, but like he was the Blade guy. He cosplayed as Blade. He tried to make Blade work and do all this stuff. And like the character has just gotten like virtually no love other than like maybe adjustments here, minor buffs there. Whereas like you look at certain characters, Marvel Rivals will not let them be bad like for more than a season. And it's so insane to me.
Yeah, and in regards to like Blade and whatnot, I think that's a huge fumble on Netease, especially when it comes to like a hero shooter, especially specifically like Marvel IP. People want to play, the heroes that they resonate with, the heroes that they find cool. So it really sucks the fact that there's a lot of people, um, that find Blade, look up to Blade. Like Blade is like it's almost like it's funny because it happens to Black Panther too, but like people want like it's hard to it's something like in fighting games where it's like where you have a character select roster, blah blah blah, and you just gravitate towards a certain character because it's either their play style, it's either their aesthetics, it's either their backstory, something about that character resonates with you, and you just click with them. So it's like I really do feel bad for the Blade mains because it's like you got this great character, they're so cool, but he's so dog water in the game that it's just it makes it hard to even stick with the game because it's like, well, if I can't play my favorite character because they're actually bad and it doesn't seem like they're getting any better, what do I even do? Like, who am I gonna have to pick?
Well, yeah, it's also like you can't even pick them because you're gonna get flamed for picking them. Like people like people are gonna notice a Blade doing average. They're gonna flame the average Blade more than they are going to flame like the average Hela or the average Phoenix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in their mind,
throw picks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, throw picks, but also like the concept of Blade and like how bad he is. Like, I mean, you can apply this to like Black Widow as well. The people that like legitimately, like I have friends that love Black Widow, like the sniper archetype and stuff, but they just can't pick her because immediately when they get picked, the stigma rolls in, and like this is even before the Kingsman Zaza bullshit, right? Like this is like, well, like this has been a problem well before that. That obviously just that is the most craziest coincidence that like that player played Black Widow, and like that was a whole nother thing. I don't even want to talk about that because it's so far removed. But like that only seeks to amplify the issues. I mean, I even kind of memed it up a bit. On my last video, depending on what thumbnail you see, it's either Blade or it's Black Widow as like the throwing thumbnail. Like that's obviously very tongue in cheek of me. Like that's on purpose. But like that's the stigma. Like you can't really look at any other character in the game and be like, that's a throw pick. Like that's a throw pick, right? Like maybe Hulk gets it, maybe Scarlet Witch, right? But like no one gets it.
Is it crazy to say Scarlet Witch has a better reputation than Blade and Widow?
No, it's not even crazy. I think Scarlet Witch, I think this is the issue. Scarlet Witch didn't have the anticipation and the, right? She is just kind of like a release character. And like people understand her. You know, like, okay, she's an auto aim character. You weave in your skill shots and you have an ultimate that's like very feast or famine ultimate. Either you get like three or six people, or you get 0 and you get CC'd, you get stunned, right? It's very feast or famine. But like, it's Blade is like potential man almost in a sense as well. You know what I mean? Like you can feel it's almost there, but yeah, I don't know. There's a, like the best thing. This is the craziest thing, and I'm probably gonna talk about it in a different video. But like the best thing you should want if you're a Marvel Rivals player and you have a favorite character, you should never want them to be dog shit, but you should never want them to be OP, because in both scenarios, it's horrible, right? You're either never going to get to pick them like the Gambit players and the Wolverine players from season past, right, where Wolverine was super OP, or you're gonna be in the Blade Black Widow bucket where it's like anytime you pick them, you better be ready to have tough skin, and you better be ready to like overperform almost, because even if you do okay or average, you are going to get flamed because there are better characters available to pick than Blade or a Black Widow.
Yeah, and funny enough, in regards to that, and this ties in with what we're talking about now, and a little bit what we were talking about before with like throwing, not to get muddied, but what do you think about the whole discussion where it's like if you don't play meta characters, like certain meta characters, you are selling or throwing?
So that's so tough, because I even gave that scenario, right, in my throwing video, where it's like, let's say you load into a game, everyone picks their mains, and then like somebody decides to play Black Panther, and like you find out later they're a Vanguard play. They play like Mag Strange, right? I kind of hearken it to myself a little bit, because sometimes I'll play Black Panther. Like I play Black Panther a lot in quick play. I don't really play him a lot in competitive, but like sometimes I want to play him. Am I throwing because I decided to pick Black Panther over Doctor Strange and Magneto? I think in a sense you're not throwing like hard throwing, but like how punishable is like not trying your best to win? Do you know what I mean? How do you discern that? I think that's the tough question. How does Netease discern that? Because me and you, the players, can like reasonably discern like, okay, this player's not playing their best. Like we can make the decision like, oh, this guy's a Magneto Strange main, or he plays like all these other heroes. He never spoke up, never calmed. He saw what everybody else picked. He didn't say I'm like a Strange player. I play Vanguard. Can I get Vanguard or can I get support? He just locks in Black Panther. So you assume he's like a duelist player or he's a DPS. And he proceeds to shit the bed, and then like you lose the game, and he's like probably a big reason because he died so many times, had very little finals, right? Like the stats on the scoreboard reflect that. But how do you punish somebody like that? Like all you can really do is like, okay, this guy decided to like not throw, but he's definitely like trolling, right? Like or like I don't, like I think he's trolling. He's not throwing, but he's like he's being apathetic. He's not trying his best. And like if you queue up for a ranked competitive game, my assumption is that you're gonna try to go there and try your best and win. Like, even if you're not playing the meta characters, I don't have an issue if you don't play meta. I don't give a fuck. But like, if you want to play your favorite characters in ranked, play to win. And if it's not working, swap, Like the game incentivizes and promotes swapping. And like, maybe people have different visions on the game. And maybe people think differently. Like, oh, if we have a Hulk and they're running hella Hawkeye, how much value are you going to get on Hulk if they're running double poke? Maybe we need another shield. Like a very common argument is like, hey, we need a shield tank. We need a shield tank. It's like, okay, fine. Accommodate it, especially if like your score isn't reflecting that. But I think a lot of people will take that too far, and they'll be like, they'll look at the team. They'll see that we have a Doctor Strange, we have a Phoenix, we have a Psylocke, and we have like Invis Luna. And they'll see the Hulk, and despite the other 5 characters who are in theory meta characters, right? Or like more commonly picked, they'll look at the Hulk, even if he has like a not bad scoreline, and they'll be like, oh, you're playing Hulk. Like you're playing to lose. I don't know. I feel like that really only applies once you hit top 500. I am a firm believer that you can pretty much play any character up until like Celestial, even Eternity. I mean, we have living proof of people doing that every day, right? So that's kind of where I land. I don't know. What do you think? Like, like, do you think the situation I gave you with that Black Panther player, like who has no hours on quick play, no hours in competitive, like, what would you say he's doing?
Um, so essentially what it is like I think because it's hard. If this were any other hero shooter, I would maybe be on the lines of like, okay, you might be throwing here, buddy, but when it comes to like Marvel Rivals being like a hero shooter and what it is, it's kind of hard because it's like somebody wants to play, you know, Black Panther. You know what I mean? So it's like there's kind of that discussion of somebody just wants to play this character regardless if this character is needed or not, and it's hard in a game where it's like you got like these prominent like superhero characters, and to essentially for NetEase to have to tell you like, so this game has all of your favorite characters, right? But you could only play um your favorite character if it fits that scenario that you need in the game. You know what I mean? Like it's a little.
They would never do that, right? That's role
Yeah,
lock
they would.
in the theory, or like
Yeah.
kind of pseudo role
they
lock. That's like pseudo role
yeah,
lock, right?
sort of, yeah. But yeah, they would never do that. But I think when it comes to like understanding like whether the person that's like running out as Black Widow or Black Panther know that they're throwing or not, I think in a way it's kind of at NetEase's fault in regards to a proper onboarding process for like new players especially, or just lower ranked players, where it's like the game really in a way doesn't teach you what you're supposed to do. You just kind of have to play it, and for a lot of people it's they're not a sponge, so it takes a little longer for them to sort of grasp that, or they have to watch videos, they have to watch guides. Um, but I think all that details into something that NetEase could remedy or try to remedy by like I don't know what shape or way or form of some sort of proper onboarding. Maybe not necessarily a tutorial, but
Do you
I
think
don't know.
like
I have
do you think like players should be required to like have a certain number of hours on a character before they can play it? Like you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? When we were talking about it, like, hey, like Smash makes it so that like it like warns you if you lose a lot on a character. Like, do you think there should be like a quick play requirement? Do you think that would turn a lot of people off from the game though? Because like
oh yeah.
Netease in theory, like they want you to be able to switch to anything on a moment's notice. Like that's the whole point of hero shooters in general, right? Like you should be able to adapt to any situation. Like player agency is very, very crucial in most modern multiplayer games. Do you have the ability to make an impact at any given moment, or like are you locked away? You know what I mean? Like, because kind of like player agency is lost in games where you are locked to a character for the whole game, in theory, right? Um, which is like the big argument for me, at least, against like role lock and stuff like that, where it's like like that meme where it's from Interstellar where the guy's like fucking banging on the window and he's like watching. Like if they
Yeah.
introduce role lock, that's going to be a lot of tank and support players, or like maybe DPS or whatever, like watching another role just shit the bed and like I can't do anything anymore. I'm
So
locked to tank.
I feel so. It's funny because two points or two steps. One, I agree with not having roll queue or roll lock in Marvel Rivals because um essentially what I experienced in Overwatch, which is kind of well, I stopped playing Overwatch for different reasons, but in Overwatch when I'm saying I queue up for tank or something like that, and I queue up and I see DPS that are doing or supports that are doing bad, and I'm like I call it like a glass box situation where it's like like you said, you're like banging on the glass and you're like, let me help. Can I please hop on this roll and you hop on this other one? We'll swap places, but you can't do anything. It creates such a miserable experience that it just hurts, especially when you lose. Thankfully, Marvel Rivals doesn't create that because they don't have roll lock, but at the same time, regardless of how somebody feels about roll queue, roll lock, player like you said, player agency is very important. It's something that NetEase wants with Rivals, but I think you can agree that with some player agency, you do lose control of an overall like sort of formation or format, or like things can become a little bit more chaotic than if you did have role queue implemented.
Yeah, it's like less structured almost in a sense. Where like because there's so much agency, like people can just like 4 DPS and it's like the game's ruined, right? Like, there is that situation where like player agency is good, but it can be abused. But like I think the abuse cases are like, I'm not gonna say minor because like if I say that, I'm gonna have like a million people in the comments going like, oh, but like every other game is quadruple DPS. Like, okay, hot take by the way, I don't mind triple DPS. I'll solo tank. I don't give a shit. Like if I have to, I will. Like I don't. We'll save this for because we're kind of ending up on that hour. And we'll talk about it in maybe a future episode. I don't know if you guys.
Maybe.
If by the way, I like me and Nenn kind of just did this out of nowhere. Like, we planned it in a very like small amount of time. But if you guys want to see more of us talking, like we'd be more than happy to do this kind of stuff. This was, kind of just like an impromptu. Like we just love talking about rivals and we've always been mutuals. But yeah, like I don't want to go overtime because Nenn only has about like an hour or 45 minutes an hour. We're already over. But yeah, like that's a hot take that I can talk about later. Like I don't really mind the triple DPS situation, stuff like that. Like solo tanking sucks. I get it. But like this is crazy. I will trade solo tanking. I will not trade solo tanking for like guaranteed roll lock or something like that, or guaranteed 2-2-2. And it's insane to me to say that, but because like I love the idea of being able to swap, because there have been games where my tank is doing bad, I'm playing support, we swap and we win, or DPS swap and we win, or like that. I've seen so many situations like that, and like obviously I'm gonna remember those more than I'm gonna remember the situations where we had people just like stick to a role and, like you said, involuntarily put me in that glass box, because like, that happens too, right? In Marvel Rivals, like you're kind of in that glass box, but like I will never trade that for role queue. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it's it's definitely understandable because so these sort of glass box situations are more prominent in the competitive scene. It's more prominent in the lower to mid ranks, right? Because everyone else in the higher ranks, you might see it, right? Like I want to say Celestial and above, they probably got there because they don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people care. People care about their rank, so
care.
they're gonna try and like play to win. And like for a lot of people, that is, if I'm doing bad, like if you're not like a dickhead about it, at least from what I've noticed, if you're not like an asshole and you don't go like, hey, you're fucking garbage, like swap. If they're like, hey, if someone like people, a lot of like, I would say a majority of the Celestial player base, they're pretty like, like, hey, I don't think you're doing too hot, or like, can we swap? Like, do you play this or can you play this? Like most of them are pretty nice.
Yeah. So it definitely is like a rank thing, because a lot of players' mentalities are different on a rank per rank basis. Yeah. So my only concern is, okay, it's clear. I don't know if they've ever openly stated this or made some like during an interview or something, that they will never implement something like role queue ever. But because so much of anything below Celestial, right? Because I think once you get to Celestial and above, you're like what, 5% of the player of those players in that rank, or I don't know. But you're within the 10%, right? 10% of players, because everything else, all the whole like glass box situation happens with like anything below that. That's like a majority of the player base. You know what I mean? And if people keep complaining, that, oh, we got to have role queue, this and that, I'm scared that Netease is going to cave in, because they're going to see like, oh, a lot of our casuals or like, sort of mid-rank players are complaining about this. Let's just do role queue or something. I'm scared that will happen. But I think at the same time, they understand that they don't want to repeat the same mistakes as Overwatch did.
Also, they don't want to be Overwatch, right? I think that's like a big thing that
clearly
people
don't. Yeah,
like it's very evident, and we can kind of make this like a closing kind of stuff, right? Like it's very evident that Netease and MarvelRivals does not want to be Overwatch, which is why they're like almost sometimes to a fault, they are so like anti-Overwatch, like the increased hero release schedule, the skins, right? I mean the Gooner skins, right? Like they've gone out on record in their dev blog saying they won't add role queue. Like they've done it in interviews, they've talked about it. I think it was Danny Koo, right? Was like the lead designer or like one of the people, right? I don't think it's Guang
Yeah,
Guang.
one
I
of the
think
lead
it's
PR people. Yeah.
yeah, one of those guys. They've like, oh yeah, we have no intention on adding like role queue. We have no like people don't understand that they want to be different from Overwatch very badly because I think it'll, in theory, if they cave more to Overwatch and they cave more to that stuff. I'm not saying you can't take stuff from them. Like obviously, like hero designs, like Star-Lord and Tracer. You know what I mean? Like you can see the similarities. That's fine.
Yeah,
Like,
they've done it.
you're never gonna get a unique. Like not every idea is gonna be unique, right? Like Spider-Man is a unique character. That's cool. But like not every single character in the game is going to be wholly unique. Like there's going to be concepts. Shocker, guys. Blizzard doesn't have original concepts. Some of the heroes they took stuff from MOBAs. Like crazy, crazy
Yeah.
guys. Like you know what I mean? Like
And we don't want to talk about the new heroes that Overwatch
oh yeah,
added,
I don't even.
you know.
That's yeah. We could talk about that another time. But I mean, like you know what I mean? Like it's very clear that they want to be different. So like I understand your worry, and it might be there. Like they are. That's another thing. Overwatch is very like in tune with the community, and like they notice, like they understand. Like when the Kingsman Zaza stuff happened, I'm just gonna briefly mention it. They were very aware of that stuff, and like, you know what I mean? Like I doubt they had like a positive response about that. Like I think they gifted Kingsman like currency for what happened or some crazy shit like that. Like they were supporting him in regards to the situation. Like. To say that Marvel Rivals isn't community focused or like isn't listening, isn't paying attention is crazy. It's just, and this is even might be even worse for some people. The fact that they do notice all this stuff and some of the stuff they ignore could be even more of a detriment. Like surely they see creators like me, creators like you, other creators that have bigger videos that talk about the game balance and stuff. Like there's no way they're ignoring this stuff on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I wanted to bring up, and this is like a topic that feel free to like cut the segment out if anything, but it's never gonna happen obviously because it's just stupid in my opinion. But it's like, do you think they're aware of like this sudden trend within the last week or so of people trying to get Zeong fired, or is that like a very like focused hyper internet selective bubble of players?
Again, like it's there's no way. I don't know if it ever reaches Zeong, but like maybe it influences their balancing. Like so this is the thing. I know Netease is like at least somewhat aware of what's happening, like the community and like what like happens around the game in terms of like tournaments, in terms of like talk about the balance and stuff like that. Like there's a reason they hotfixed, Hawkeye, Hela, and Elsa. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason they did all that stuff. That wasn't out of nowhere. That was because the community was complaining, and like they're very aware of that stuff. They invite creators and pro players on consistently to like test out their characters and like not test out in the sense of like pre-build, but like more in the sense of like early access stuff like that. Like they pay attention to all that stuff. So I don't know if that stuff ever reaches Zeong. I'm hoping he doesn't get fired. I think that's like crazy to come after a man's job, or like just anyone's job, because it's not just him, right? He's not the only person on the balance team. There's probably like 30, 40, 50 people, however many people there are.
Yeah, it's a team,
Yeah, it's a team of people. So I think like it's just unfortunate that he's like the public person for it. Like he's obviously the rod or the lightning rod, which I kind of think he understood that going into it. Like same with Guangguan. Like both of them kind of understand like, hey, they're gonna be like the face of the game in terms of like the balanced people and stuff like that. Danny Koo is like much more Twitter sided, right? Danny tweets a lot. Danny tweets a lot. Guangguan and Zeong appear in the videos, the dev blogs, and like they're in the YouTube videos, and they're in the and like the that kind of stuff, right? So like I'm sure their teams are aware. I'm sure probably Guangguan maybe pays attention to that stuff. I don't know if Zeong's gonna get fired over that shit. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think it's gonna influence, like anything with Netease, like the community to some extent is going to influence what they do and how they act going forward. That's why, like I say, they're super hyper I think they're more aware and more community focused than I've seen other games. And like I said, I've played League of Legends. We've both played Overwatch, right? I feel like that community barrier, like usually game developers have like a big barrier between the community and like they will talk in like official stances, like forums and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of that is not really there for Netease. Like they will just blatantly do stuff. I mean, like they gave Venom a twerking emote. The fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that was a long time ago. But like I remember making a video on that, like a short video on that. I was like, bro, they are so tapped into the community.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good thing that you don't really see a lot of, especially with like how quick they kind of brought that out from when it initially
Yes.
sort of kind of trended, but they're definitely in tune with what people are saying, at least when it comes to the game. Well, in general, but like when it comes to like the games, like just general perception with like other stuff, like being more like we were talking about earlier, Gooner skins and whatnot. They're tapped in, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if that's a different team as well, because like I don't know how much you pay attention to like the emotes and like the stickers and stuff, but there's a lot of memes on there, bro. Like, I mean, they added like for Spider-Man, like they added him the Tobey Maguire dance, right? Like
Yeah.
like they're always adding stuff like that. And like I don't know if that's their socials team, like I don't know if that's their balance team that's necessarily in charge of that. That might be the cosmetic side, but like I'm like almost 1,000% sure these guys are like talking to each other. You know what I mean? Like at least the cosmetics team and the emotes team and stuff, like they're aware. That side of Marvel Rivals, that team is hyper aware of all the silly trends, all the silly stuff. So I think it's, I don't think it's crazy to say that their balance team and the teams that are more focused on the game development side, or not development, but like the balance side and adjusting stuff, they are not also at least somewhat aware of what, you know, people like me or you or pro players or streamers say about the game when it comes to like how they feel about certain characters. Again, I think the hot fix is the biggest indicator of that. But I don't know. Like,
Yeah, no, that hotfix. I don't like you said before. I don't recall when was the last time, if even at all, that we got like a hotfix like that. It's, yeah, like the fact that a hotfix like that happened, especially it's like I don't want to say it's because of Overwatch because you know how like they're popping up kind
no.
of with their season
Yeah.
because a lot of stuff like this happens. It takes a few it takes time. Things take time. A lot of people think like decisions can be made and changes can be implemented in just the snap of a finger, but a lot of these things take time, right? There's some sort of pre-production to every single change in the game when it comes to ideas and execution and implementation. Um, it just goes to show that yeah, no, that they have to be listening, especially because it was those three specific characters that were in the hotfix. Now, whether that hotfix was a change that was to a satisfiable degree, that's a different conversation. But the fact that they did that shows that, you know, I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to, people's concerns about balance and this and that. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to be happy with the balance in the game, in any game. Like everyone's always going to be complaining
No.
about something. But when it comes to certain major outliers like like oh hella poke in general, like that is just not a fun experience for anybody regardless of rank. um Poke is unfun even in the lower ranks, rather it might not be executed as well, but it's still like a thing that is not fun to deal with just as much as it is in the higher rank, right? And something that drastic, NetEase they have to do something about it. And it's clear that as long as they know that yes, this is an issue that nobody likes, we're working on getting like a solution that is at least to a point where it's satisfactory for everybody, then I would be happy so long as they're aware, right? It's all about them being aware and addressing these concerns eventually rather than never. Granted, they could be a little bit faster when it comes to certain characters because like Hella and Hawkeye have been crazy since the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't want to say better late than never because I think as players we do have the right to expect, especially with such egregious things like characters like Hela and Hawkeye, we should expect a little bit more solutions in a timely manner rather than like taking it over a little over a year later. But I'm I'm just that hotfix, regardless of what it is. I'm happy that the fact that it exists. So that's my stance on it.
Yeah, they have been fast on other stuff too. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, you were playing
Johnny.
since the beginning. The yeah, Human Torch stuff, right? That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like that didn't last too long. It was there, but it didn't last too long. Like they kneecapped him very quickly. Like they are aware of that stuff. It's just yeah, like again, like, and this kind of ties back to like the lack of transparency from Marvel Rivals. Like I have no clue what's going on in Zeong's head or their team's head. Like why did they nerf Torch so quickly? Which is like I agree with the Torch nerfs. Like he needed it at the time. The game was like so unfun to play if he was in the meta. You know what I mean? Or sorry, not in the meta, but if he was in the match, he was let through. But like it took them kind of long to do hella, like you mentioned, Hawkeye. Phoenix is still like kind of running rampant. She's never been terrible, right? Even after the melee cycling stuff like that, where she could like quick melee and stuff like that. Like even then, yeah, I think that's ultimately kind of like what it boils down to is like the transparency around their balancing. I think if they were just more concrete and they were more consistent, I think a lot more players would be happier. A lot more content creators, streamers would be happier. It's like, oh, okay, I see. Like, so if they notice something, they'll nerf something. But like, maybe the stigma's happening where like they're kind of slow on some stuff. It's very weird. It's unpredictable, and I think a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like the unpredictable nature of Marvel Rivals balancing at times. And like for some people, that's really fun, right? For probably a lot of the casual player base, oh wow, it's just kind of random. Like anything can happen. That's exciting. But like for like you mentioned, like the competitive player base or the more hardcore player base, right? People that actually care about that stuff. Why isn't Hulk getting buffed? Why is, you know, Magneto allowed to stay the best tank in the game or one of the best tanks in the game? Why did it take so long for Emma to get nerfed, right? It took like multiple nerfs in a row before she finally like kind of fell out. That kind of stuff. Why did Elsa get released in the state that she is? And yeah, they hotfixed her, but like she has a 2 second dash that gives her overhealth. like, it's like
Yeah,
I could go on and on. I could go on and on. We could go on and on, but like why is that stuff allowed to stay, but Johnny gets nerfed instantly? Why has Gambit been allowed to be the best support in the game? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. I think ultimately it's the chaotic. You mentioned the chaotic nature and almost the unpredictability of Marvel Rivals balancing that is like turning people like angry or off. Not off, I would say. I think a lot of people still play it, but like I can see the frustration like boiling up within the player base and like other fellow content creators. Like you can just tell like what's happening.
yeah, and because of the result of that, I have been finding myself playing ranked, specifically less and less as the seasons go by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been more of a quick play warrior,
I mean, yeah.
especially with the last two seasons. Because it's like I don't know, even though quick play has sometimes sometimes quick play can feel like a competitive match, but um, it's I don't know. I just want at the end of, I just want people to be happy as much as they can when it comes to you know enjoying the game, regardless of level. So I don't know. I just seeing like a lot of the negativity and do I feed into it sometimes with some of my videos? I do sometimes, I'm not gonna say that I don't, but I don't like to fuel things, but it's like it's seen a lot of like, oh, criticism from this and that and this and that. It's like it's kind of tiresome, but not in a way where it's like I blame people for it because a lot of it is justifiable. But yeah, I don't like seeing that. You know what I mean? Like I want to see people
Yeah.
like
Well, I think we're
loving the
all
game as much as possible.
yeah, I think we're all guilty of it, right? Like me, you. I mean, we were just, talking about, offline a little bit. I think Gallivan, right? Like he came back to Marvel Rivals after he said he dropped it. And like I think all of us kind of have that um w- I think you can kind of differentiate people that like hate on the game for the sake of hating versus people that make those kind of videos because they care about the game. I like to think of myself as somebody that makes, more critique style videos and like I think like yourself as well because you want the game to be better and you want the game to like be fun and be something that can last a long time. I mean, I try to balance my content around it as well, right? Like I think I was like, no, maybe like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. where I released a video on like Spider-Man and why he's like the best designed character in the game and like
Oh
why
yeah.
it's the best version of Spider-Man. Like I love that kind of I would love to make that kind of content more. But like the fact that there are less Spider-Man like characters in terms of like power fantasy design and there's more like just busted ass shit like Hela and Elsa, like I'd love to make more content like that. I'd love to be able to look at the game in a different lens. But like you mentioned, the decisions that NetEase makes around certain heroes and around the game kind of forces like I don't I don't want to be fake, right? I don't want to be fake optimistic. I think that's like the worst thing you can do because like you yourself will notice it as a content creator, but also like your audience will notice it. They'll be like, well, why is this guy being like, why is he being fake? Like, why is he, you know, like if there's a problem with CC, I'm going to talk about it. If there's a problem with certain vanguards, I'm going to talk about it. But I can also throw in content like the Spider-Man stuff, you know, and like more positive centered content. Because like I don't like again, we talked about it earlier. I don't like really make content just for the sake of making content, right? Like I put stuff out there that I want to see that no one's talking about, or maybe I think not no one's talking about, but like stuff that I think is important, whether that's throwing, whether that's Spider-Man, whether that's, you know, Black Widow or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I said, it's I don't know if we'll ever come to a point. Like I said before, it's never gonna happen where everyone's like just happy, smiling, playing the
No.
game. You know, like whoa, this
No.
is such a great time. No, so there'll always be something, but yeah, I'm trying to think of a comparison because it's like in comparison to like Overwatch, I don't like to bring up. I'm not to bring up Overwatch so much. I know a lot of people in my comment sections always be like, a lot of people in my comment sections always think that I'm trying to turn MarvelRivals into Overwatch or something, and it's not. Like one of my first videos, like my first one of my first three videos, I'm like just critiquing the heck out of Overwatch. But then I was like, I don't love Overwatch enough to specifically make content on it anymore. If you asked me like maybe a year or two ago, I would be like, yeah, oh yeah, Overwatch this and that. But that ship has sailed. But yeah, no, it's just like you said, talking about things that you want to talk about rather than making things just solely for the sake of just I need to put a video out. Um, and it's just unfortunate that a lot of the things that do sort of gain traction are
Mm,
like the more
yeah.
just hate like there's so many, and I don't necessarily blame the creators making videos like that, but the many Fire Xeon videos that you see out there, if you just type that in, or this and that, and that's not even counting like Twitter or Reddit or whatever, any other posting. This is just YouTube, but you'll see a lot of those, and I don't know. I hope we come to a point where we're just kind of chill for at least for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, like there is a lot to love about this game, in my opinion. I think a lot of us, like, be it content creator or player, I think all of us kind of like really understand what this game can be and like how fun this game is. It's just yeah, I'm not surprised that like after a year, right? People are I wouldn't say starting to see the flaws necessarily, but like, you know, are looking to other things, right? I mean, ultimately like it's an attention economy, right? Like you are gaming is all about attention.
Yeah,
So like
it eventually happens
splash,
to every game.
yeah, like splashing very big is really good. Like Marvel Rivals, and you know we can talk about the like the thoughts of like the game is dying in another episode or whatever. But yeah, I think like they found their core player base, and like I mean the Deadpool release bumped up. Like I know a lot of people came back or just came to Marvel Rivals because of Deadpool, right? Because that's like their favorite, and that's gonna happen pretty consistently. Like when they release, you know, I don't know, Charles Xavier or Cyclops
I
or
think
so,
that'll
like
happen.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that'll. I think. I don't even know what I would call Deadpool, but uh, he's like the kind of character, kind of like a yearly refresher, right? Where it's like, the game's been out for a year. Let's find a way to just get the general audiences, whether they play this game or not, to remember that Marvel Rivals exists. So hey, here's
yeah,
Deadpool. I do think that this year it'll be Doom. to coincide
Yeah,
with maybe the movie, it'll
I
definitely
think
be
so.
Doom.
Yeah, if it's not, it's crazy, right? Because they've already done the Fantastic Four tie-in. Like, if they don't do Doom and they don't give him like, because the model is gonna be the Doom that we see probably in the game, but they're probably gonna release a skin that's like the Robert Downey Jr. Doom or whatever. Like, if they don't do that, that's like their biggest thing. I mean, also the new Spider-Man movies coming out right in July. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff to be like happy about if you're like a general Marvel fan, and if you're just a Marvel Rivals player, the growing anticipation for a lot of the big projects for Marvel is gonna coincide with probably a lot of the stuff that, at least cosmetically or promotionally, marketing wise, Rivals is gonna do.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to people that are like they don't really want to play this game competitively, or like they play it competitively, but they don't like strive to be anything higher than, I don't know, somewhere in the middle ranks, or just play it casually with their friends. They are I cannot tell you how good those people are eating, and so I kind of envy them at times because they get all like they care about all the skins, the Times Square, all those other modes. It's for everybody, but it's for them. You know what I mean? Like, so having those then coincide with like the movies. If you're like a Marvel fan that's just playing this game casually, this game is like amazing, right? That's where I give NetEase credit, regardless of like how we feel about the more hardcore stuff like balance. The casual experience of this game, at least when it comes to not balance, it's great in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think Nen, we went well over both of our times.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It was like, well, we kind
absolutely.
of ran into some tech issues. So I mean, I don't know what the full recording is gonna be. It'll probably be like an hour and 15 minutes. But again, I really appreciate you kind of like sitting down and having this conversation. To the people watching this video in the comment section, if you want more stuff like this, with me and Nen just talking about the game, talking about our thoughts and stuff like that, let me know in the comment. Let us know in our comments. Like, I want you to do another video with Chibi, or I want you to do another video with Nen. Like, the whole point of this is that, we both talk about the game. This is something that you can, put on your second monitor when you're driving. Like, most of our videos don't last more than like 20-30 minutes. So it's always good to like talk with Nen and just like kind of get our thoughts about the game and just in general, because we're not the same, right? Like, we have different thoughts. Like, we don't always see eye to eye on stuff, and I think it's really fun, like talking about the different stuff and having us come together. So again, thank you so much, Nen. I obviously, your YouTube will be there in the description, and you'll be as a collaborator. Obviously, if you're not already subscribed to him and you're subscribed to me, I highly recommend it. Again, we do the same kind of content, and if there's a day where I don't upload, like a Thursday or a Friday, because I do Wednesday and Sunday, I'm sure Nen has something out there, and he has content that you will equally enjoy. If you like my content, you will like his content, and vice versa.
Yeah, I very much appreciate setting this up, and the feeling's mutual. If anybody just watching this, like a viewer of mine, go check out Shibi. He does like one of the better content that I've ever seen with this game. Period. And this isn't to overglaze him or anything, but I truly do mean that. Um, but yeah, no. If I wouldn't mind doing this. As long as people want it, then go ahead and let us know, and maybe we'll make this something a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be more consistent than my normal uploads. Who knows? But yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nen. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, as that all helps me out a ton. I try and respond to every single one of the comments in my videos because I genuinely do appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules to leave one, as well as I love interacting with my own community. If you want to see more of my content, I stream over on Twitch about 3 to 4 times a week, starting around 7 p.m. PST. Over there, you'll get unedited versions of my videos, as well as we go over gameplay reviews, patch notes, and you guys can ask questions in the chat, and I respond pretty quickly. If you care more for short form content, I upload daily on both YouTube Shorts and TikTok. Over there, you'll get condensed versions of my videos, as well as stream highlights and my general thoughts on the game. All of that will be in the description box below, as well as a pop-up that will show up on the right side of the screen here telling you where to go and all my handles. I really do appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.